Hi, my name is Jessie Chen. I'm the holder of this diary. Call it When Traveling. I didn't expect my last day in Finland would be that fulfilling. At the beginning, I just wanted to achieve my wish of having fish soup, so I was thinking of the fastest way to go, which is taking a tram. But thanks to Alaskan guy's proposal, which is going there by walking, I ended up having so much fun on the way. January 15th, 2022, in Helsinki, Finland. I went to Helsinki Cathedral again, but this time was different. Not only because I visit there at a different time, which allows me to appreciate it under brighter sunlight, but also because I went inside this time. Last time I visited the cathedral, it was 8:30. There's nobody around and the front door was closed. I checked the Google map and found it opens at 9 o'clock. However, 1 hour later when I passed by it, the front door was still closed. So I was thinking, well, probably it will be temporarily closed until someday. But it turned out I had a wrong guess. Alaskan guy told me the entry is actually on the left door. I was like, oh, so I just missed it several times. I guess that happens sometimes when traveling alone. Oh, by the way, he was quite familiar with Helsinki because he participated in an exchange program in Helsinki in 2018. Around 5 minutes later, we went out the door. We were talking about some religious topics and at the same time we're about to descend the floor. I walked to the right side, at which moment he suddenly said, "You might want to change to this route before they send you to God." I froze for a second and then burst into laughter. It turned out the way I was gonna take was covered with ice. I then said, "Thanks, and that's really funny." Some minutes later, we arrived at the harbor. I was looking at the blue sky and the slightly frozen water, and the sunshine was unreservedly sprayed on my face, which obviously was a gift in the cold weather. At the moment, I feel like I got to know more about Helsinki, because 2 months ago my impression of the harbor was still great. We then went into the market hall right next to the harbor. After the fish soup, we went to Uspensky Cathedral, which was skipped by me 2 months ago because, well, when you're alone, sometimes you just don't have the mood to walk for 10 minutes only to take a look at a cathedral for 1 minute. We also went to Helsinki Central Library, Udi, which was introduced by Alaskan guy and was definitely worth a visit. It's nothing like a typical library. There are studios for band practicing, space for workshops or performance, 3D technology presentation, and even game rooms. I feel like it's a space for including everyone and a space for enhancing quality of life. After that, we took a break in a coffee shop and went back to the hostel. At 5:30, we said goodbye at the bus stop and I left for the airport. I really enjoyed the 4 hours of walking and really appreciated his company. Were it not for him, I wouldn't have a chance to see Helsinki in different ways and I might feel bored during the 4 hours. Oh no, I wouldn't walk 4 hours in a city I'd already explored at all. That reminds me the word. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Around 6, I arrived at Vantaa Airport. Some minutes later, I was about to pass the border control. The first word the border guard said was, "Oh, you fly far away from home. Now you're gonna go home?" "Yes," I said. "You travel around Europe? Where have you been?" Many. Northern part, eastern part, and Spain." "And that's your favorite one?" "Oh, no, my favorite is definitely Finland." He stopped for some seconds, then stamped on my passport and said jokingly, "The answer is that for sure. Here you are." "Thank you." When the conversation was over, the check was also done. I then took my passport and passed the border control, which was like a reminder telling me, from this point, you are really leaving. And thinking of his first words, I just couldn't help but burst into tears. The feeling is like there's finally someone caring about why I fly far away from home. In the beginning of last October, I left the software startup I worked for 7 months and turned to work as headhunter in a fancy office building next to Taipei 101 in less than 3 weeks, and quit again in 2 days. I never regretted my decision, but I suddenly felt lonely and lost. I didn't know what I was fighting for. For several days, I prepared my presentation material for the interview late at night because I could only do it after a day's intense work. I even worked on it right after a follow-up with a product issue at midnight, at which moment I somewhat felt like I didn't know me anymore. You used to complete an assignment 2 weeks in advance, but now you're still working on the presentation whose deadline is just tomorrow morning. Are you sure this is what you want? How about taking a break? You've always tried so hard. I feel like you're too harsh on yourself, the angel on my shoulder said. However, the devil argued, You got this. You must hang in there. You know you've often stayed up late till 2 or 3 and even 5 o'clock for this project management work. It's not that bad this time. Once you achieve it, you don't have to stay up that late because of the system that contradicts to your value. And you don't have to be worried about something wrong with the product all the time. Well, sadly, I ignored the angel's voice, went on 3 stages of interviews, and even accepted the offer, which was actually far from my nature, and ended in self-loss. I felt stuck, not only mentally, but also physically. After I quit my job, I stayed in my small apartment alone. I had no intention to look for a new job and also no interest in finding other things to do in the world I stay because I feel like there's too much noise around me that would only make me feel more lonely and depressed. But I also didn't want to idle around, so I decided to leave, to fulfill my dream of traveling alone in Europe and to slow down myself. Well, after a 2-month trip, I know I got my energy back. 2 months ago on my first day in Helsinki, I was like, okay, cool, I see something different. 2 months later, on my last day in Helsinki, I said, wait, I'm gonna take pictures. And there's another thing I know. I know myself much more than before. Yep, this is my story. Thanks for accompanying me till the end. I really appreciate your support and would like to know your stories in person if I have a chance to visit your country. Feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram, which I do paste the account in the description of every episode. I would be happy to get your message because A, I'm curious about my audience, and B, I'd like to keep connecting to the world. Finally, special thanks to Emma Zhang for introducing Finland to me. Were it not for her, I wouldn't have so many incredible experiences there. Kim Jung for providing a space to deposit my luggage. Were it not for her, I wouldn't have a wind-like pleasant journey. Colleen Sven Nu for fulfilling my dream of spending a decent Christmas Eve. Were it not for her, my dream would never come true. Jacqueline Liu for doing some magic for me. Were it not for her, I wouldn't walk into Musée du Louvre elegantly. And those I met on the way who were kind to me and inspired me a lot. Written by Jessie Chan. Thanks for your reading and company.